Yes. Is it going? Yeah. Okay, we're ready. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake, a special meeting of council held November the 2nd, 2017. We'll start with the approval of the agenda, please.
I have a motion that's moved by Councillor Mino and seconded by Councillor Roman. The council approves the agenda for November 2nd, 2017 special meeting as presented.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None declared. Item 3 is reports of municipal officers and communications. Peter, you're going to speak to...
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. This process here tonight is a legislated process under the Municipal Act. We have received a request from a property owner for an extension as part of a tax arrears process. The property in question is located at 953 Government Road West, and I believe they had made a formal request to council through through a letter to the clerk's office. So essentially, the process tonight, just to outline a bit of the process, is the way it works. The staff, before we get to this stage of requesting extensions, staff's responsibilities are prior to this stage to try to make something work. Once it gets to this stage, it now comes to the political side. So staff do not have a recommendation at this stage. For any particular property, not this one or just any particular one, just the process. The council can either vote yes or no to an extension agreement. In this particular property, they did have an extension back in March of 2016 that was granted. The extension agreement and the bylaw is attached. And now we are back to that agreement has been nullified, and we went back through the tax registration process, which got us back into where we are today. So I believe the deadline to cancel the tax registration certificate, tax arrear certificate, is November 4th, but the last business day would be tomorrow at 4 o'clock. The cancellation of the tax arrear certificate is essentially the full amount of $290,939.77. So, and what I have provided is some guidelines. These are standard industry guidelines municipal councils use in determining tax extension approvals or denies.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Yeah, just to first let me thank council for attending this special meeting. Thank you to staff. Thanks everybody for coming to this special meeting called with short notice. And as Peter said, the reason the special meeting was called was because there was a letter received from the property owner requesting that we look at an extension to our November 16th, to our November 15th, 2016 extension. And, or I'm sorry, March 15th. And in that extension, there was agreement drawn up that the property owner would, I believe, pay $10,000 a month, as well as keep their current taxes in up to date for that year. Throughout the last, I guess, 19 months, the town has received from the property owner approximately $170,000 towards their agreement. Was the agreement followed to a T? No. But in the 19 months, we did receive $170,000, so there was certainly a huge effort put forward by the property owner. And Joanne just wants to address council to let them know how the voting goes in a special meeting.
Yeah, a special meeting is different from a regular meeting. It can be called by the mayor on 24 hours notice. There are certain rules that go with this. There has to be a quorum of council who agree to have this meeting, and then when you do vote, it has to be 50% of all council who votes yes in order for this to go through. So just so that you know that there needs to be 4 votes yes for this to go through. If there are not 4, then it is defeated.
Okay. Discussion. Councillor Kiley, please.
You said there was 107,000 paid?
No, 170.
70.
Yes.
How much that was rent and how much of that was taxes?
No, it's all taxes.
It was all taxes?
It's all taxes. All taxes. And the last payment
Yeah,
we received was...
Forget about the rent.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The last payment we received, and please, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was in very late October. Okay. So that's the background. There is criteria, of course, for, as Peter drew out. You know, again, was the negotiated agreement followed to a T? No. Was there tremendous effort made by the property owners to follow it? Yes. It's not easy to pay 170 when the company's having difficulty through various reasons. But certainly I want to commend the property owner for the money that was paid towards the tax arrears. We'll start with Councillor Chamillard or Councillor Roman. Sorry.
I just wanted to ask, if an extension is granted, what is the payment process being proposed at that point? Is there like a formal plan being put forward, or is it just?
No, there is, Jim. There is a formal plan. The plan is for a 45-day extension, and the plan is certainly no payments plan. It's $290,000 to the penny what is owing by December 15th.
They're not
And that would bring it,
proposing
no, and that would bring,
one third,
no,
or anything like
and that would bring the property to current status.
And the other
No
question
arrears.
I had is, if it is granted, does this sort of reset the clock on all registering it for tax sale, or?
Yes, so the essential process, anybody can come and clean the slate before November the 4th, so before, I guess, tomorrow, our last business day would be tomorrow at 4 o'clock. If they come and pay us $290, the slate is clean, resets the clock for another, the countdown, you know, assuming, you know, they start going to arrears again, but, you know, anybody can do that, and once the 45 days, if they pay it within the 45 days extension, same thing. Right, so same thing.
But if they don't pay it in full?
45 days expires, they can request another extension, number one, at council's permission. If council declines it, then it proceeds through the tax sale process.
Councillor Chamillard?
Yeah, Tony, I'm quite happy with it. This is a nice proposal. He gave us the name of his partners, which I trust completely. They have paid their taxes in the past, and they paid lots of taxes, and they never miss a payment. You know, we're not here to close business. We're here to try to help them. It is a big amount of money. 45 days is not like, really, what I want is people to pay their tax, and that's what we're trying to do here. What we're gonna do with buildings, we already have some buildings, and we're not doing too much with them. This is not the idea. The idea is to get the taxes from people, and I'm happy that this is a good thing for us. This is actually an awesome thing for us. I will support this 100%.
Councillor Kylie?
Just to clarify, Peter, this is brought up to date as within that extension. And then if they do go into tax arrears again, we have to start all over the process.
4 years. Yeah, this is actually longer than 4 years because we already had a tax extension. From March 2016. So, the taxes owed are, we're probably looking at 5 years, of owing back taxes, right, give or take, and they have made payments, I'm not, disregard, but to come clean, off the books, right, so it's a carryover on our financial statements, so.
Yeah, I lean towards supporting this, although I do, just a general comment, it's been a struggle for the town employees to collect in the past, and in the spirit of cooperation, I hope that changes, that we will get our tax payments on time or within a reasonable period. It's a lot of work, and this is a lot of money tied up, as Jean-Guy said, but I would support this.
Councillor Mino?
Well, I'd like to start off by congratulating Ryan. I know he's the tax collector back there, and I know that historically speaking, after being here 17 years, this situation does not come to the council table very often. It's a very rare occurrence, so it's probably reflecting on your diligence and the collection. So we have a tough decision to make because we don't get to do this very often. My take on this is that whenever people don't pay their taxes, just maybe a little history lesson, is that we have to put that amount in the uncollectibles. And when you prepare your budget in the uncollectibles, that means we have to budget whatever we can't collect. And historically, if, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but we're about 10%, eh? There's about 10% of uncollectibles in this community, historically speaking. And last year's budget, I think we put $800,000 of uncollectibles. And that means if we put $800,000 on the expense side, we have to have revenue side of that. That means the taxpayer has to say, okay, we have to build them another $800,000 in our budget. So that's simply put. So it's something we have to take seriously, and we also have to deal with it in an effective manner because, you know, there's 4,500 other households in this town that are facing this situation. So in other words, they go up 800 grand. That's 800 grand is about 8%. Just say there's just the amount 800 grand. So we're talking here possibly an effect of maybe between 2 and 3 or 4% of everybody's taxes being involved in this transaction. So the good news is that this is happening before our budget process. So at least we'll have a clearer day as to in January when everything the smoke clears up and everything's settled. And for that, I'm optimistic that it will. And therefore, I would support in this deal as it stands. And I guess the process would be kicked in on December 15th. And can you explain perhaps, or is it Peter, could you explain the tax sales after December 15th, what happens? If it's not in payment, if there's no payments?
So, in a nutshell, if we don't receive $290,000 by December 15th, and there might be accumulated interest charges for, between now and December 15th of a couple $1,000s on top of that. If we don't, if any property doesn't meet its arrears and we register it, we go through they don't pay us by the deadline, the tax arrears certificate registration deadline. Essentially, it goes through a process called the tax sale process, right? We will go through that legislative process. We will auction off the property, and any debt, any mortgage liens, all get slated. The only thing that on the pecking order of people collecting money, property taxes get paid first, and any liens registered by the Crown, so the federal provincial government. If there's bank loans, mortgages, they all get the property is slated down to zero. So, mortgage holders are probably the ones highest at risk and/or other suppliers or creditors.
So the town is the actual first on the
The
list?
town is the first of the pecking order, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Chamillard.
So, Peter, have you talked to those people? Or is it all done by mail or email? Those guys here? Like,
I have staff talk to.
okay, so
Yes,
they asked for 45 days, but is there a plan maybe earlier they will? Or, I know they're trying to get their duck in order and all this, but did they seem to be, maybe it might be earlier?
So if they've asked for a 45 days extension from the letter, we have not spoken to them
Oh, okay.
since that letter. We go on the assumption that they got till tomorrow at 4 o'clock to cancel the tax arrear certificate. If they show up today, tomorrow with 290 grand, it's done. It's, there's no issue.
Yeah.
No extension required. I guess we're just moving that now to December the 15th. So if they show up with a $290,000 check.
Because the earlier they pay, the less interest they'll pay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so-
yeah. So,
Yeah, it would be less interest if they pay it before the December 15th. I imagine that's how it works with the taxes. For me, I look at what is the risk and what is the benefit we can gain? The benefit is, by waiting the 45 days, is we have opportunity to get the full amount of the tax arrears. And that's what we want to do, isn't it? Get the full amount of the tax arrears. I guess the risk is, if it doesn't paid in 45 days, the risk would be we're right back to where we are today, 45 days from now. And instead of acting on the property tomorrow or the next day, we would do it in December. But I certainly support the extension as well. Primarily through the effort that the property owner has shown throughout the last 19 months. It hasn't always been easy, but business isn't always easy. And there's certainly an effort there to keep it going. I think we're near the end of those efforts, but I certainly support this to give the extension of 45 days as well. Anybody else want to say anything, or we just go into yep.
So I have a motion that's moved by Councillor Roman, seconded by Councillor Mino, that bylaw 17-119, being a bylaw to authorize the treasurer to enter into a tax extension agreement with the owners of 953 Government Road West, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Item 4, introduction and...
No, just did that. I have a motion that's moved by Councillor Mino, seconded by Councillor Roman, that council adjourn its special meeting of November 2nd, 2017.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming to this special meeting.